Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In this video, we are going to see how to make dynamic instantiation in Spark AR. In the recent update, Spark has allowed us to instantiate objects dynamically with script. So I'll just show an example of what it is. So this is an example I made using the dynamic instantiation. So as you can see, I'm tapping on the screen and these objects are actually created on that time. So basically this project doesn't have any uh, previously created files. So basically these models are creating in a real time. So if you tap wherever you want, you can create an object over there. So this is what we are going to see. So we are going to see how to make the dynamic instantiation with 3D objects. So let's go into the video. Create a project using the world object template. I'm just making it bigger. I'll just stop this for a while. So let me explain what spawning is. So for that explaining, I'm just going to the Spark library and I'm just going to import a simple cube primitive. So if you want, what spawning is basically is that you can create an object instance on this scene tab. So before this spawning, what we normally do is that if you want to add a plane, we have to use like either add object or like we can just click on it and we can add an object over here. So basically what this does is we create everything. We will be manually doing this. So if you want 10 planes, what you do is like you create one and you duplicate it multiple times. So what if you don't know how much number of plane you want to create? So for example, you are creating a filter, the example I shown, where the user can plant how much number of plants they want. So in that case, we don't have a specific number. And if you want to spawn like the user 3D model like this, what you have to do is basically you have to like drag and drop this multiple times, or you can duplicate it multiple times. This process takes your manual work. So what spawning does is, so while running the filter on the code while spawning, we don't want to do anything, but we can just spawn element based on triggers. For example, only if I tap, I can add an object, or only if I just blink, if the user blinks, a certain object number of objects is created. Like that, we can have any number of objects, like infinite number of objects added to our scene tab. For this project, why we are using the world object template is that this already gives us a context where, like for example, to place an object on a 3D world. So if I want to have an object spawn over here, if I just click it over here, you can just see this object is spawned over there. So wherever I tap, this object is placed over there. So using this object as a reference, we are going to get the global position of this object and then assign it to our spawned object. So now, so we are not going to have any shadows, because what we will be doing is we will be hiding this totally. Like we are only going to like keep that for the positioning stuff where I want to place the object. So we will not be having it visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all these stuff. So we don't want, anyway we don't want them, and we are not going to have rotate or pan or pinch stuff because we are only going to place the object, that's it. So once I'm done, I'll just keep only the position over here and you can keep this. Basically what this does is this resets the plane whenever you tap. And under this, either you can delete or you can leave, because we are going to hide the object at the last. But for my case, I'm just going to keep this as like for reference for you to show what's happening. So as you know what spawning is, now we can see how to spawn elements. So basically what we'll be needing is, we'll be needing a object or anything under the global transform. So we can keep it under the, we can spawn elements on the plane tracker also. But what happens is that whenever we tap, we resets this. If you see, we are like resetting the object's like position, which local value is different. I'll just drag the object here and I'll just show the global position, global transform. Vector 3. So now you can just see whenever I tap, the global position is changing. I'll just go in so you can just see more. So wherever I tap, the global position is changing, whereas if I just create a local position, local transform, it's going to remain 0 every time. So wherever I tap, you can just see the value is 0. Basically, this is because wherever we tap, we are like resetting the plane tracker position. So the plane tracker itself is moving to that position and is considered as a starting point. So we don't want that. So what we are going to do is we are going to get use the global transform property in order to like spawn the object. So we'll be only near, we are creating the null object outside the plane tracker. As you can just see, it's the device is there under next level, like the same level as a device, we have the null object, and then after that we have the plane tracker. So I'm just going to name this as a parent, because in order to spawn an object we need to have a parent on which we will be spawning it under the parent. So whatever name you can have for this parent. So for this I'll just rename it as dummy value. Basically this is going to be the placeholder for us to see where the object is going to spawn. So we'll know, I'll just delete these now. So now once you are done, I'll delete the cube and stuff, because we'll know we don't want those stuff. So in order to spawn a model, we have to use something called blocks. As you guys know already, blocks are basically like a separate scene which you can import it whenever you want. So I'll just call it like simple. So I'm double clicking it so it opens the block scene. Under the block scene you can add whatever objects you want. So for testing purpose, I'm just going to the AR library. I'm just going to like the 3D model. If you want, you can add your own 3D model or anything. So in my case, I'm just going to use a simple cube as a reference. I'm just importing it to the block, not the template. So once you are done it, you can just drag and drop it over here. Drop it under the root. So now that's it. I can just save it and I'm just closing it. And I just saved that. So now I saved the block. Now whenever I just click and drag the block over here, you will be seeing the cube. You can just see it is under the under the device, so only it's over here. So you can see the whenever I'm just duplicating the simple thing, there is another copy of it appearing. So I'm just deleting this. Now comes the code part. So now I'm going to create a simple script and I'm opening the script. So we can just delete the commented area. That's not going to have much value. I'll just clear up the code. I'll just simplify the debug stuff. So now what all module we are going to use are that we want a block module where using which we can spawn the block elements, and then we are going to have a tap module basically to control that wherever we tap that part. So I'm just going to create a constant. I'm just going to name the tap module as T. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to create the tap module. So these modules are the one which allows Spark to understand what we are going to do. Now I'm going to create a block module. So that's it. These are the modules what we are going to use. So now what we want is we are going to create a constant which will contain all the scene objects like the dummy, the parent. So now I'm just going to create like type dummy and parent over here, and already we are using an async function, so we can use await and stuff. These are the advantages of using like asynchronous based JavaScript. And currently Spark only supports asynchronous JavaScript, so I can use await. So what this await does is, So when the promise is called, it waits till the promise returns its value. So whatever value like we are entering, it waits and then gets it, and then it goes to the next step. So we are using an array, like the promise always returns an array. So in order to use it easily, we are already creating an array and then assigning the value inside it. So now I'm just going to create a scene. I'll just rename the scene as yes. So s dot scene dot root dot, we can create first, find first. I'll just copy this and paste it twice. So now on the first thing, we are going to get the dummy, copy the name and paste it over here. And then now I'm just going to get the parent and paste it over there. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to create a tap object, like basically to see whether they are tapping or not. So for that, I'm just going to type t dot on tap, where t is on caps, and after that what we are going to do is we are going to subscribe this. So what happens is that whenever you tap, it listens and then the function is called again and again. So now I'm just creating a subscribe function. So this, what happens now is, if you're using the tap function alone without having any tap or like patch based on tap, we have a tap patch on the patch editor, so we don't have any error. But sometimes what happens is, if you are using the on tap, basically if you are using any tap based functions without having any patch on the patch editor, it will show an error. So for if that is happening, you can just go to the properties, edit properties, project edit properties, and over there you can just click on the capabilities, and then on under the touch gesture you can manually click on the tap gesture. If you are not using any patch, you have to manually check it. Then we'll be needing to have a script dynamic instantiation capability like enabled. Then only we can see the objects being dynamically instantiated. So what we are going to do now is, I'm just going to create a userlet and then simple block. Yeah, I'll just name this blocks, and I'm going to name this as block, and I'm just going to use the await function again. So if you want to use the await function inside this, what you have to do is basically create this function as a async function also. If you just enter async before the object, that's it, it's going to work. Now we are going to create an await and then blocks dot, if you like then if you tap dot itself, the autocomplete will show the options. So under this we are going to use the instantiate. In our case we are going to use the simple block. So I'm just going to take the name, copy the name and paste it over here, and then I'm just going to give a comma, going to open a parenthesis, and under this I'm just going to type name. So in our case I'm just going to call it cube. We are going to make the block child of the parent. So we can just type parent dot add child block. So now the block will be added as a child for the parent. Now once we make it parent of the parent, what happens is, if you tap, you can just see the object is spawned. For some reason it's not showing for me, so it will show whether like to show the on a purplish shade over here, to ask, it will ask whether you want to see the dynamic instantiated objects or not. And then if you click S, you will be seeing all the objects dynamically instantiated under the parent which you named. In our case, the parent is basically on world object 000. That is, this is the world origin. So for example, if I just move the parent wherever I want. Like for example, if I just make it like -1, you can just see it's moved down because this is under the parent. So I can just type whatever value I want. As this is under world object, world transform property, basically this, the point which wherever it is now, is where it is considered as the origin point, that is 000. So that's why it is spawning over here. Whereas if I just create some other null object over here, like name it as, I'll create a null object and just use the same name. I'll just replace parent with the null object. If I just save it, so I'm just refreshing the filter. Now if I just tap and I'll just hide this object, if I just tap, you can just see the object is being spawned. So this is where it is spawned. I just restart it again so you can understand better. So now if I just you can just see there is nothing on the scene. Just tap it over here, you can just see an object is spawned. So this is where the object will be spawned. On the below it will show whether to show the dynamically instantiated objects or not. In that case it will be shown in a purple color. For some reason it's not showing for me, but it will appear for you. So you can just tap n number of time and then that object will be kept over there. As you can see, wherever I tap, the object is moving along with the plane tracker. That is the reason why we are going to use this parent. Have the parent over here. What we can do now is that we want to assign the property of the dummy to the element spawned over here. So in order to do that, what we have to do is basically we need to have one more property to normalize the value. Let me call this dummy2. I'm just going to like redo the same thing over here. Let me explain in a second. So in order to transfer the value of transfer the world transform value from one to other, we'll be using the same world transform objects for this value. So basically what we need to do is we need to normalize the world transform value and then use the normal transform value. As the block doesn't use normal transform like the world transform values, we'll be using the dummy2 as a placeholder. So what we are going to do is that now we can just click dummy2 dot world transform dot position equal to, we'll just copy paste this entire thing and normal dummy. So now what happens is that if I just click it over here, restart it, wherever I tap, you can just see that null object is getting the position of the world transform property. You can just see it's changing over here based on the null objects. So what we are going to do is that now I'll just clear the debug. So now if I just get this values, if I just now I can just get the block dot transform dot x equal to and dummy2, so dot x dummy2 dot transform dot x dot pin last value. So what happens is that if we are creating without this pin last value, whenever the value of x changes, it just shift directly. So in order to change that, we are only going to use the last value of the object. I'll just restart it. If I tap it over here, as we are only giving the x position, you can just see the objects are spawning based on the x values. So in order to give all the values, I'm just going to copy paste the z also. If I just restart it, you can just see the object, like the cube is being spawned on wherever the element is. So it doesn't match the, if I just click it over here, like if I just click it over here, you can just see there is a cube spawned. Cube is being spawned and it is floating because the y value is 0. Now we can just do the same for y. As we copy pasted y, now if we just go over here and then click anywhere we want, like click it over here, I'll just take it. If I just click it over here, you can just see the object is being spawned over there. So there might be a issue of like for a second it will be up here and then over there, because that is because when spawning the object will be having the initial position of 0 0 0. So after that it is going to change. So now this, you can just walk around anywhere you want and then spawn the object over there. You can get this, if you want, you can get this project file on my Patreon. I have a Patreon which you can support and I'll link it in the description below, and then you can get this particular file on the Patreon too. I'll just show what I did on my personal filter. I'll just give the link for the filter on the description below. So this is the project what I shared before. I'll just go and make this like changes. So I added loot and other stuff to make it different. So this is what basically I did, like with basically the same setup will work fine for you. If I just click on the plants, you can just see the other stuff. So this is the block which I used, like rest of the setup is same. This is the block I used. As this object has like multiple number of 3D models, I used a separate block like this. I got the model from the Sketchfab, so you can just get any model and you can do the filter like this. So if you like this video, like the video, and if you have any questions, you can just comment it below.